Okay, back to gems I can talk about it in a reasonable tone of voice. Enforcer. Enforcer. This one's purely about pets. Increases pet damage 15%. Upgrade is 0.3 damage per level, and at 25, your pets take 25% reduced damage, which every witch doctor will tell you is not enough.
Yeah, but
I haven't used this. I don't have a pet character. You probably haven't done much with it either, Katniss. Nope. And Ynzerg hasn't played a witch doctor.
Yeah, but I have more. when you have M6.
You have pets with a demon.
Dude, when I have M6, yeah, and I was running the Garwolf coat, so I had 3 wolves as well. Like, I had a lot of pets going. Plus, I think Sentries count as pets, if I'm not mistaken.
So were you using this gem, or
I mean, I wasn't at the moment because I was using that. I was trying to tell Pain Enhancer, because I crit so much that I didn't think this would be better, so I neglected to use it. But I am going to around just to check it out. But yeah, and the other thing is that 25% damage reduction. Like I don't know. I guess I've read this is pretty imbalanced for some reason because the witch doctor pets die, but these demon hunter pets, like, they never die. So that's not even useful to me. But the damage boost is definitely nice. But I guess I don't know. I really don't know how frail the witch doctor pets are. But I've never seen a pet die. But I've never done. I haven't done T6 yet. I've done. Oh.
Witch doctors are really good up to like 25, the pets, and then they get to like 30, and the pets are just getting one-shotted. Apparently, is the main complaint they make.
Okay.
And the Enforcer's not enough to fix that. So there's been some blue posts about it. But obviously this is a gem that's spectacular for Sentry demon hunters.
Yeah.
And witch doctors. It's almost mandatory.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And everybody else is kind of like, not so much.
What's interesting is I heard mixed results early on that this actually wasn't working with Sentries, but I think it is now. I'm pretty sure it is now.
I think that was a hot fix fairly early on.
Perfect, okay. And then, if you recall, actually, in the PTR, the secondary for this one was your pets were indestructible. Like, they could not be killed, actually. Or invulnerable, maybe?
Both
invisible.
And demon hunters have that already, but obviously witch doctors would like it.
Right. So, I mean, it's kind of like two sides of the coin, right? You can go from being completely untouchable to 25%, and obviously one is way too good and one seems way too paltry. So, I don't know where the middle ground is for that, but yeah, it's really interesting that Sentries don't take damage, and that's what really makes the DH the best pet class.
They don't even get targeted.
They're not even targetable.
Killing thing.
Yeah. This also works, by the way, in a new Crusader build that is taking a lot of popularity lately, which is the Phalanx Stampede build.
Yeah, that's an amazing build.
You get your little blue warriors and they kick ass, or what?
It's the Horsy one, right?
Yeah, it spawns a bunch of.
You shoot horses. I remember
exactly,
that one.
Yeah.
That's the one no one ever uses, and now they found popularity.
Well, because the new shield, the Unwavering Phalanx, is in there, so your Phalanx casts twice. So you get 6 horses instead of 3.
Awesome, like Bobby Kodak's daughter's birthday party. And do you see any use to twinking this? I do not see much twinking use on this.
No, I don't see it.
Ynzerg's like, yeah, Bobby Kodak joke, awesome.
Well, I was waiting for it, man. You made it just in time.
Yeah, that was in your honor. Okay, so Gem of Efficacious Toxin, which I dare you to spell out right now. But anyway, base effect, poisons all enemies hit for 2,000 weapon damage over 10 seconds. Upgrades grant 50% weapon damage. And rank 25 unlocks all enemies you poison take 10% damage from all. Which you were mentioning earlier, Katniss, means everybody. That debuffs them for all attacks.
Are you sure? Are you sure, or is that just speculation?
I'm 99% positive.
Okay.
So there's that 1%.
So have you tried this one out, Katniss?
Yeah, I was using this primarily when I was partied up with 9-ball. And it definitely seemed like it increased our clear time. So I'm almost positive that it does affect all parties, all sources, all party damage, etc. This one when we first got it, I looked at it and I was like, oh, it's only 200% weapon damage per second. That doesn't seem like that much compared to some of the other gems. So I actually passed on it. And then I went on to Twitter and I was asking people, which gems they found useful and whatnot. And literally everyone replied and said, at least Gem of Efficacious Toxin. I was like, well, I guess I missed the ball on this one. So I threw it back on the build. And I think it's good just in terms of getting some of that DOT damage. So for instance, when you're playing a build like a Crusader, for instance, and melee really hurts, like you have to kind of disengage to heal yourself up, having a DOT is really useful just because it continues to DPS for you while you take care of yourself and heal yourself. So you're constantly doing damage.
Is it a problem with? I guess you have with your condemn build, you're hitting enough stuff at once. This one seems like it's fantastic for like Sentry Witch Doctor, Sentry Demon Hunters. Or I was playing the other night with Wolfpack, and he was using his wizard had just gotten the Firebird 6-piece, and he was running around dropping some meteor that like it was tiny meteors over the entire screen, right?
Mm.
So if you're hitting everything a lot, or even like just like a multi-shot Demon Hunter, before you even have Sentry, it's like you want to hit everything in the world with this as often as possible because the DOT will just devour
Yeah,
it. Whereas if you're like a Fury Barbarian or something, it's not going to do much for you if you're only hitting one or two things at a time, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So obviously that's a little bit... Melee characters are obviously useful with it if you have a lot of wide range of stuff. Or if you're like Katniss and you have Condemn or something going.
Yeah, it's definitely good for AoE builds for sure.
It seems like the upgrade is really powerful too. I mean, 50% per rank. I mean, just you'd be at 3,000% by level 20, you know? I mean, that's a lot of the upgrades. It's just like another tenth of a second or something, and this is like a really powerful upgrade. So it's like this would be really useful to get it all the way up, as high as you can even.
Don't say that too loudly, man.
Right. I think it's good, but it's really good, I think, when you're in parties, but I think there are other ones that do similar things that outshine it, which we'll probably get to, such as Ynzerg's infamous Pain Enhancer.
Yeah, I ended up using Pain Enhancer over this for that very reason. But
I think so.
We'll get there pretty soon. This one seems like it could be really fun for twinking with certain builds. Like if you had like a wizard with Disintegrate or something, you just spin in a circle and poison everything on the screen in 1/10 of a second.
That's a good idea.
That sounds cool.
Like it would do nothing for some classes, right? But like if you had a wizard, Witch Doctor with multi-shot or something, or wizard with Blizzard, you just drop that and everything gets touched. You just keep running and they're all dying behind you. You'd be like the Diablo 3, Whirlwind Barbarian, where you're like leaving those tornadoes of death everywhere. Except this is just poison of death, and everything behind you would just be dropping dead after 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah, this would be a really
I haven't tried it yet, but I'd be curious to try that
a
one.
good run like the wind gem, yeah.
And okay, Gogok, which I was going to take Gorgog or Gogor, or those big fat guys in Act 3 are called. Gogok of Swiftness, base effect, 50% chance to gain swiftness on hit, increasing attack speed by 1% for 4 seconds, up to 15 stacks. Upgrade Gantz, a 1% chance, a 1% better chance, and at rank 25 you get a 1% cooldown reduction per stack of. I didn't write that properly. So it reduces your cooldown reduction by 1% for each stack you have. This one's kind of complicated, but obviously it's about attack speed. Very short buff, 4 seconds. Is that enough to make it useful?
I think for a Demon Hunter it would be, because you're hitting so often. You're almost like you're never not hitting. And the again this again synergizes with your Sentries, because I don't know if I have this right, but I think attack speed just boosts their damage, not necessarily how fast they're shooting. So for each tick, you're just gonna.
There are breakpoints.
Yeah, there's breakpoints for it. So there's certain amounts you have to do to make all. I think that's for all pets, I believe.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, I can't imagine a scenario where I'm not keeping that up. To be honest with you.
So my first wife said to me too. But still, 4 seconds. This kind of reminds me of Frenzy with the Barb. But of course, the Barb you don't have Sentries hitting things that are 10 screens away from you, right? So
yeah.
I mean, it's a huge boost and it stacks nicely, but it's only for 4 seconds. So it seems like you would lose it after every pack. But then I guess you'd build it up again.
Yeah,
quickly.
you could build it.
But this is definitely for if you're hitting lots of things rapidly, not hitting one thing at a time for huge damage.
No, wouldn't it be the opposite?
But then you'd always be running out of it. It seems like if you're doing like I'm thinking like an old style like the Bell Monk back in the old days when that was powerful, where you just do jab 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 and then do huge smashing blows. And I guess in that you could build up the stacks before you did your huge bell. But I mean, like the Ynzerg was saying, if you have a Sentry and it's always hitting stuff, you're sort of keeping the stack up at all times.
Again, for the Demon Hunter, I don't see how you would ever not have it up. I mean, that chance is so high to hit. And even on single target, you're gonna get it. You're gonna keep it up.
I think that's exactly it. I think
that's my first one.
I think this is exactly what that's for. It's a single target buff gem, because when you're against like a Rift Guardian or a fight that just let extra health mobs or something like that with like a billion HP, you're gonna be standing toe to toe with them for quite some time. And 4 seconds is actually more than you think, because the Roland set, which gives you the 100% attack bonus for 3 seconds, a duration of 3 seconds that you can refresh every time you use sweep attack or shield bash, is actually a lot harder to keep up. And that's just a difference of 1 second. But this one I actually find I can, even if I have to reposition in a fight, I can move around and then hit them again And with that chance, as long as the gem's leveled up decently enough, since the levels give you more percent chances to activate it, you're not going to lose it really. And
So it's going to be good just to grind a single target because you get 15% increased attack speed, and you can just keep pounding on them, and it goes fast, 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 fast.
it's good for procs. It's really This is also like a really good monk gem. We should talk about
Oh
them.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
because
And it also it drops your cooldown reduction as well, which would be nice. You get 15% cooldown reduction when it's powered up.
absolutely, that's huge. Yeah, because you think if you only get 10% with a maxed out CDR in Paragon, that's that plus 5 more percent.
Yeah, so the upgrade rank is only with 1% chance more, which seems kind of pointless because if you're hitting 20 things at a time, if with a 50% chance, it's always going to be proccing anyway. But then I guess the point is if you're doing single hits, if you're only hitting one target at a time, like a boss, or a Rift Guardian or something, then every percent more for the proc is going to help. It's going to be useful just to get your 15 stacks up really quickly.
This is true.
Okay, any other thoughts on that one? You said something about monks there.
Yeah. Oh, just this one is featured highly in their most powerful build, which is the Sun Wukong explosion build. I don't know if it has a name for it yet, but it enables them to use their cooldown so they can kind of keep like things like Serenity up or Epiphany. I don't even know kind of what all the skills are that they're running, but just being able to reset those cooldown skills faster helps with more of your uptime, helps you stay in melee longer. And helps you keep this gem up. And just generating more spirit by being able to attack more often means that you're going to get more of those unleash moments when you spend all that spirit. It's a really good synergistic gem there.
Indeed. Okay, next. Invigorating Gemstone. Base effect. While under any control, this is one of the few defensive bonus ones, which means no one uses it because who cares about defense, right? We just want to kill stuff. What are we playing hardcore here? Oh, wait. Anyway, while under control impairing effects, reduce all damage taken by 30%. Upgrade rank grants 0.4% damage reduction per point. And at rank 25, you heal 20% of your max life when hit by a control impairing effect. This is a very powerful defensive bonus, and since you never die, Katniss, you have no need for it.
Well, first of all, this is one gem that A, I have not leveled up, and B, I have not ever used. It sucks, honestly. Look at what it gives you, right? So if you're under a control impairing effect, you're getting reduced damage taken by 30%. And that's the part that scales. But for the most part, if you're under a control impairing effect, the last thing you're trying to do is like enjoy that, stay in that. You're trying to break the jailer. You're trying to, not get frozen. You're wearing your ice climbers. There's so many ways to get around being compared or control impaired. And it's something that we're actively always doing in terms of fighting elites, that this gem just doesn't give you enough efficiency in terms to, justify its use at all. I would never use this.
Okay, in Ynzerg, why is he wrong?
I can see one scenario in which he's wrong, in which you have it leveled up all the way, and you have to deal with immediate undodgeable damage, and perhaps you're not geared enough to deal with it, like a jailer, like T6 jailer stuff. For lesser invincible classes than the Demon Hunter who can't die ever. I mean, sorry, the Crusader.
Yeah, I think you have that backwards.
Because that high level, the high level jailer damage is pretty crazy, especially if you get hit by a jailer or you get frozen packs or something like that. Like that's a scenario in which I could see it being useful, but I'm probably not going to use this. I haven't used it, and I'm probably not going to use it in the same way that Katniss just said, even though I have more of a use for it than he does.
That is a good counter.
You mentioned Ice Climbers, Katniss. Would you ever get this proccing with Ice Climbers on? Because it breaks every snare. I think you would just never even know you had it.
Yeah,
right.
That's true.
Yeah, you wouldn't get frozen, so it would never activate.
You don't get frozen, you don't get slowed, you don't get jailed.
Yep. Do you get it for even like a second? It just never happens.
Never.
No, you're immune to control appearing effects with Ice Climbers.
Yep. So
you can't even get vortexed with Ice Climbers.
That's pretty awesome.
Oh, I think you still can, because I think that's the whole point of the new bracers, is that they give you the immunity to being vortexed.
Maybe I had them before the last patch on my barbarian on Europe or on America, and he never gets vortex. He just ignores it. Maybe they've changed it since then.
Could be. I don't know. That's interesting.
The one thing I thought this might have a use is most of the hardcore players that I know who've died recently, you are obviously excluded from this, Ynzerg, since it wasn't how you bought it. I've heard a lot of people say they died while frozen. That's like the most dangerous thing now. You get frozen, and then you get arcaned, or you get pounded on, or you get whatever. The only near-death experience that my monk has procced was when I was frozen. So, and this would reduce damage while you're frozen by 30%, which I'd rather not get frozen in the first place, but if that's what it did, it would be great. And maybe it could reduce the duration of control impairment by 50% as well or something to make it a little more useful. But other than that, I can't see what the real danger is. And of course, it's not going to help you if you get vortex into molten explosions or arcane or while you're wallered or something.
Right.
You know?
And see, and that your point is exactly the reason why I dislike this gem, because the rank 25 passive, where you heal for 20% of maximum life when hit by control impairing effect, is garbage. Because once you get frozen, yes, the frozen does damage to you, so it'd be nice to heal that damage back up. But it's the arcane, it's the follow-up after you're frozen that does the most damage and sometimes the fatal damage to you. So if they change this passive to more of like a heal over time, like it heals 20% of your max life over time or something, then that might help to mitigate the arcane beams a little bit better, or whatever it's going to try and end your life while you can't control your character.
What if it was 75% damage reduction while you're impaired? Would that be worth using? How high could the percent go before it became useful?
I mean,
if it was 100%, you'd use it because then you'd be immune to anything while you were frozen. 90% would be pretty awesome, right?
That would be insane.
I mean, you'd never die while frozen with 90%. You'd want to get frozen. I'm safe now. Finally.
Well, that's the thing, right? It would almost turn it into one of those, like the immunity amulets.
Yeah, where you stand on arcane beams
exactly.
to heal.
You'd be seeking out control impairing.
So at some percent, this would be useful, right?
Yeah, but again, since it's so situational, like not every elite comes with frozen or jailer.
Well, they do when I get them, sons of bitches. Okay, anyway, so obviously we're kind of giving Invigorating Gemstone a thumbs down. No one seems to think it's that great. And obviously you would have zero use to ever twink this to anybody, unless if you're dying at level 20 and frozen, you got more problems with this gem, frankly.
I would say though that Ynzerg does make a good point, because demon hunters don't have the ability to dodge like a jailer or so, the instant damage stuff. Because obviously for Crusaders, I keep going back to Crusaders, but I know them the best at this point. Because you can get Akarat's champion with 100% uptime, and that makes you completely invulnerable to control impairing and all that stuff, then this is also another reason why I just don't like it and don't see a need for it.
I think Moratorium would be better for jailer prevention with demon hunters. We'll get there pretty soon. Okay, so the next one up is Mirinae, Teardrop of the Starweaver. Okay, the first word is going to be I'll guarantee that'll be a Diablo 3 community manager within the next 2 years. Because they all have like 7 vowels and you can't pronounce them when you say them out loud.
That's awesome.
So seriously, Mirinae? Mirinae? I don't know. Anyway, it's probably Jay Wilson's first wife. Anyway, base effect: 15% chance on hit to smite a nearby enemy for 2,000%. If you smite stuff, lots of damage. Kill, hurt, smash, smash. Upgrade rank is 40% weapon damage, which is, I know, 10% less than the Efficacious Toxin upgrade. And the 25 rank unlocks, you smite a random nearby enemy every 5 seconds. Kind of a vague description. What is nearby in this case? Have you tested this one out, Katniss, to know what nearby means?
This is actually...
like melee range?
This is my highest ranked gem.
That's why you could pronounce that.
I'm very familiar with it. The nearby is on your screen, pretty much. So,
wow.
So nearby is like 50 yards?
Yeah, like I've seen it when I'm doing like the Realm of Trials, for instance, when I'm trying to clear those out. I can be on the other, like on the lower part of it, trying to fight some mobs off, and I'll see like one spear skeleton up at the top. I'm like, damn, I have to run or pony all the way back over there. And then the Mirinae just procs and smites it down, it's dead. So it's got to...
Are you afraid that Wyatt's going to hear this and nerf it tomorrow morning?
I mean, we got to be careful. We definitely have to be careful about which ones we give thumbs up to. So it's okay. It's not that great.
So that was why I didn't think this one was worth using that much, because it's nearby enemy. I'm like, what does nearby mean? But you say nearby is like damn near
on
anywhere.
Screen, yeah.
You're not playing on like a 480 by 320 resolution, right?
No, just the regular one.
Okay, good. Just checking.
But this gem is beautiful. It's beautiful for the condemn build because I don't know how much I want to say about it, but because you're taking a cooldown skill and you're enabling it to be spammed, if you will, in quotation marks, cooldown skills have really high proc chances, just because you're not supposed to use them very often. And so when you're condemning, you're almost always guaranteeing this effect, even though it's 15% chance on hit. Like it procs way more than you think it would. And I think a lot of people initially took issue with it because it was such a low chance to happen, but it hits like a truck. And if you're having a holy build, which is going to modify the damage on it, when you stack Holy Elemental on your gear, I get procs now of about 100 million on elites. It's nuts. It almost, I actually told Nineball, it felt like it was the return of crushing blow because you'll be fighting like a target with a ton of HP, and all of a sudden you see this chunk of damage go out. I'm like, oh, Mirinae procced. Oh, there it goes again.
So how does it work? How does the function work? So 15% chance on hit to smite a nearby enemy. So it's not something that you're already hitting. It's any enemy on the screen has a 15% chance to be hit. And if you're hitting 20 things at once, is that rolling 15% chance on all 20 of those?
Yep.
So that's why it's just ridiculous.
So
Because
it's
if you're
up
doing big
all the
AoEs,
time.
everything is just the whole screen is just yellow numbers,
Wow,
basically.
that's pretty crazy.
It's so I would not. I mean, I'll enjoy it while it lasts, but I would not be surprised if Condemn. I wouldn't say this gem will get changed, but I wouldn't be surprised if Condemn gets changed because of the way that it activates with that. But you see it a ton. Like it is yellow rain from the sky. Yeah.
So isn't the rank 25 unlock really underpowered, comparatively speaking, then?
Is
I mean, if you're getting 10 of these a second, that's 1 every 5 seconds.
it's just another one, you know?
Yeah, it's nice for that last stray guy in the wave, right?
Because yeah, if he's way over there and you're not gonna get to hit him and the countdown is on, if that 5 seconds is about to be up, then you'll get a lucky strike.
So what do you think, Ynzerg? Do you want now?
I mean, I don't know. I'm playing a ranged class. I didn't think this would be as useful, but if it's just killing everything at all times, that seems pretty useful. I read it as like,
Well, that's a pretty good feature in the game.
yeah.
Killing everything at all
Well, I
times.
read it as I needed to be close in order to get this to work. I didn't think it would just randomly choose someone in the entire screen and then proc this constantly. That's pretty impressive. So no, I actually, again, deliberately haven't used this one because I read it wrong apparently and didn't realize how crazy that is. But
You didn't read it wrong. It's just the description doesn't tell you what it does. That's all. That's why we have Katniss here to explain
yeah,
it.
yeah. So, but I can see how for the condemned build it must be.
Your toes are delicious, by the
outrageous.
way, Katniss. Katniss, your toes are delicious. Your big toe on the left, oh my god, it's like caramel. It's just delightful.
Oh, that's funny.
Ynzerg, I
Yeah,
can't
what's
talk
your
out of
Paragon
my
level again?
mouth.
Oh man, so high.
When your pedicure, it's beautiful. The marbling effect. Okay, so twink use of Mirinae, not so much. I guess if it hits anything on the screen ever, AoE class could really enjoy it twinking. You don't have your superpowered hit condemn everything until you're high level, right?
Yeah.
So
I could see some limited use for this. If you have the rank 25 unlocked, then if you're fighting like the Butcher or something, it could help to kill that a little bit faster.
but compared to other stuff, though,
Yeah,
probably not.
and it's just because also you don't have it's based off weapon damage. So if you don't have like a big weapon, like a two-hander that does a ton of damage, it's not going to really give you that much.
Okay, next up, Moratorium. It's another defensive bonus, so we're just going to skip that and move on because no one cares about those. So pain enhancers, okay, wait, we should probably do a little bit on it. Base effect, 25% of all damage taken is instead staggered and dealt to you over 3 seconds, which is kind of cool. So you don't get one-shotted, you get one-shotted after 3 seconds runs out. Upgrade rank is 0.1 second to the duration, which is nice. So if you have level 20, then you got 5 seconds of damage going over it. So if you take 200% of your total damage at once, and you have it over 5 seconds, in theory you have a chance to heal a little bit or regen, and you won't die immediately. Or maybe you'll just be waiting for that timer to run out, and then you'll die horribly, knowing it's unavoidable at this point. And rank 25 unlocks a 10% chance on kill to clear all staggered damage, which is what sounds really interesting to me. If you make it last longer, you have more of a chance of it all suddenly going away. So what do you think, Ynzerg? Katniss has been telling us all about these wonderful gems. I'm sure he hasn't tried this one because he doesn't need defensive bonuses because he's that powerful.
He doesn't need it, but it sounds.
Are you curious about this one?
Me personally?
I mean, do you like the idea of it? What do you
I think the idea is cool. Again, this game favors killing stuff quicker rather than surviving. But yeah, I mean that sounds really interesting. I think staggering the damage, if you can kill stuff really quick and you have that 10% chance later once you highly upgraded, that would probably proc really often actually. So if you're wiping damage that quick, that could be super powerful. But I think there's other better things that can go in your slots, to be honest. It seems maybe like.
Do you envision doomsday scenarios with this item? Like I just envision you're killing moltons and you get stuck in a waller and like 7 moltons go off right on top of you and you're like, okay, I have 4.2 seconds to kill enough things that have a 10% chance of clearing all this staggered damage when I die.
I guess.
And just like skeletons, bring me skeletons.
You just know what's gonna happen. Yeah, that would be pretty hilarious. And then you just watch yourself pop randomly. That would be fun to watch. Well, I mean, and terrible at the same time. But
Just someone else. I mean.
yeah, if you're watching someone else. Yeah, but I mean, I still think there's better places or better gems to go on your limited number of slots. But yeah, that's good.
Given your death this morning, which would have been prevented by the moratorium, I think you'd be a little more sympathetic to it.
Maybe, dude. I've never. The damage was so fast. It was crazy. Uh,
So enlighten us, Katniss. Have you seen this in use? What do you think about this one?
This is one also that I've yet to level, yet to use, but it's one that's on my list of things I'd like to experiment with. When it originally was released, I was really hyped on it because I thought, oh my goodness, this is the life per second gem, where basically, a stat that got buffed a ton coming into 2.1 is now going to be really, really critical in conjunction with this gem, because if you're spreading out your damage over time, and you're able to out heal it, then essentially that's just 25% of damage that you'll never take. It's almost like a mini Unity buff, if you will. But that said, it was bugged originally, so that's why I have had no rush to try it out, because apparently what was happening was that any class that had a cheat death passive that was using the moratorium, they would take the damage and
You would die.
yeah,
anyway.
it would just eat right through what was supposed to be your invulnerable period, which is just terrifying. So I didn't use it, and I think that it could be good, but you're probably, since we're limited to 3 gems total, I think you're probably better off taking other ones.
Unless you're an ogre, in which case you can use 4 because you have 2 decks. Okay, next up.
Was that a class leak?
Yeah, that's the new World of Warcraft crossover coming up BlizzCon. It'll be awesome. So, the twinking. No, you're not going to twink Moratorium. Okay, next.
No.
Pain Enhancer, which it's a really subtle name there. I don't know how they thought up that name. It doesn't really tell you what the gem's about or anything. Base effect. Critical hits cause the enemy to bleed for 1200% weapon damage. It's physical over 3 seconds. So it's 400% weapon damage over 3 seconds, basically, is your DOT. Per 3 seconds, I mean. Upgrade rank is 30% weapon damage, which you'll note is lower than the other 2 that give you DOT. And the rank 25 unlocks Blood Frenzy, speaking of World of Warcraft, granting you 3% attack speed for each bleeding enemy within 20 yards. Sounds like something you get in a women's locker room when they're all synchronized.
Oh my god.
oh my god.
Okay, Jens,
That's next
take
level.
us away. What is good about it? You said you were using this on your Demon Hunter.
Yeah, I was using it because I have, rest in peace, had like 60% crit, and then it procced constantly. I don't know if it was stacking. I could never figure that out. I'm not sure if it resets itself, the DOT, or if it just stacks.
I would bet it resets. Everything else resets.
Yeah,
right?
I don't think any of the DOT from the gems stacks. I could be wrong. I just don't think they do that.
Yeah, I don't really know. So I'm assuming that as well. But the powerful part about it, I thought, obviously the damage is super fast and pretty high, fairly high. And if you're critting as often as most high builds do, it was noticeable. As soon as I put it on, actually, the first time I put it on, I was killing stuff noticeably quicker. But then once I got all of my pets going, all of my pets were proccing it too on everything in the room at all times. So it was just like the whole room. I just saw the little white procs of this thing, and the damage output was just outrageous compared to what I had before. So it was especially useful just like starting out and seeing like all these white numbers fly everywhere, and then once I once I saw like my boar would attack something and then start just like there was just damage draining, even if it's from like a little ancillary enemy on the side, you can cover the whole screen with this damage really fast, and it's very useful.
So you want to have I was thinking, but before I haven't tried this one yet, but thinking Demon Hunter, Sentry would just be ridiculous. Everything is always getting hit.
Always.
Or the Wizard with the meteor that's hitting everything. And probably even with your super condemned Katniss, you're hitting enough stuff all the time.
Yeah, I think this one is pretty good. I would definitely consider it to be one of the high tier gems. And it does do more damage if you think about it over time, just on its base before you even level it up, than a gem of Efficacious Toxin. So I think I would already rank it above that. Just the fact that because Efficacious is on hit, then there are no qualifiers for that. But because this is based off of critical hits, it allows it to do a little bit more damage. So I would say this is more of like an end game gem. Once you're actually critting all the time, it's definitely one that you want to experiment with, if not use quite a bit.
It And Demon Hunters with that huge crit they get so easily.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, especially because even on what is it, your Natalia set, you get the set bonus of crit.
7%.
So yeah, I would say that's probably going to factor in, and especially for Demon Hunters, for all the reasons we just described. Fan of it.
The rank 25 seems interesting too, in that you get increased attack speed for everyone bleeding within 20 yards, which isn't a huge radius, but I mean, if you had a big group of monsters, you could get this. You could get 60-70% attack speed for like 2 seconds.
This is again why this
needs to be a blur.
This is again why I really like it for Demon Hunters, because it might help them bump up over one of their breakpoints or something like that. But I don't know. That was kind of one of the parts of it that I found to be lackluster. It turned me off, at least for the Crusader build, just because the point is to really kill stuff faster. And if you're putting a DOT on it, it's normally going to die a lot quicker. So it seemed like the Blood Frenzy effect just wasn't up all that often. I guess this would be really useful in probably like higher greater rifts where stuff sticks around for a while. So maybe against like elite fights with a lot of HP or something, then you'd be getting quite the benefit from the increased attack speed.
Yeah, what if that stacked? What if you got up to 20 stacks of that for each enemy, and it lasted 1 second, after they died or something like that? So even if you killed 20 things at once, you would still have 20% attack speed or 60% attack speed for 1 second. So you get something as opposed to your massive one-shotting, you're getting nothing.
That's beautiful. That's one of the changes I thought might work for it.
Wow, my toes are pretty tasty too. Huh? Okay, so twinking, no. This is like the worst one. You have no critical hit chance with your low-level characters, this is just irrelevant. Okay, simplicity strength. Base effect. Increase the damage of primary skills by 25%. And primary skills, you always have to look and see what they are, because once you start using, once you use when you're in elective mode, you're like, what's a primary skill? Like you don't even pay attention to those categories anymore. Anyway, it's that first category that your first left click skill comes from. Upgrade rank is 0.5 damage per level, and 25. Primary skills heal you for 2% of your maximum health on hit, which is a lot of damn healing, frankly.
Yeah.
So who uses primary skills other than wizards with Mirror Ball? Who's going to find this like an awesome item?
I used it for a little bit, because Demon Hunter's hatred spending schema is absolutely stupid, and you like spam one low damage skill. Cause, again,
unless you find a Kleider shot, right?
Yeah, exactly. But I also
there's that new one you can make chakrams do it too.
Yeah, I have that. I have that item right now, which is really rad. So I use that a lot, and I paired it with Depth Diggers, which I had a Depth Digger that was like a 91% bonus damage. So
and that is bonus damage with your hatred generators, yes.
Is it? I thought it was with your yeah. So that's what this
for
is,
generators.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, so all generators. Yeah, so the Depth Diggers is the new legendary. Just for people who listening might not know what that does.
Okay, I thought. Yeah. So I had like.
So the new legendary depth property on Depth Diggers does what?
Yeah, it increases. We just said it. It increases the damage of your hatred generators by somewhere like between like 80 and 100% or something like that.
But that doesn't do anything for witch doctors and wizards. It's only the other four classes.
Right. So we should specify that the gem will work for every class, because the primary skills are all of those ones on your left click originally, but.
Every class has a primary skill, even though most of us don't use them anymore.
Exactly. And then Depth Diggers will only work for classes that generate resource through their primary skills, if you will.
Right. So I was using that. They were, and I don't know, whatever that added up to be. I forget. Well, I mean, I could.
Lots.
Yeah. Well, no, it was good, but it was useful because then I was using the bola skill that shoots 3 frozen bolas really fast. So I was hitting really often and critting for noticeably more, but it ended up being less damage when I switched it out, to be honest, like to something else. But it was actually with Depth Diggers, it actually was a really nice boost to my overall DPS. But that's the only.
And you were one of the rare builds that were using a primary skill constantly. Though.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, monks use them a lot, but I mean, some classes like never use them. I mean, wizards don't use it really unless you have like Mirror Ball, which makes you shoot multiple magic missiles and that kind of thing. I mean, like the common Demon Hunter, high level stuff, you just run around bombing things with Cluster Bear,
Right.
You're not really using your generators much once you have a lot of resource regeneration in other ways. But obviously, certain builds, this seems like a little more of a selective use than most of them.
Yeah, I feel like this gem is trying really hard to enable a different playstyle, right? It's like it's trying to make the whole like not spending resources thing work, and I think that has a niche. Like they added the Depth Diggers, which gives you help with that. Monks have Combination Strike, which if they use multiple generators, they get a boost of damage there. So I mean, there are niches for it. I just don't think it's going to be like a powerful enough gem that people will want to take it over others, simply because your primary skills do so much less damage than your spenders. And once you get to a point where your gear mitigates the use of your spenders in the most efficient way, whether that's resource cost reduction or cooldown reduction to help you generate off of other skills and such, you just, I don't know. I don't think you'll use this, but it is noteworthy. The healing is going to be an interesting part of it too, because if you have like a life pool of what, like 6,000 life, and 2% would be 12,000 per hit. So
Yeah, it'd be 600,000 life.
sorry, yeah.
Yeah, you'd be dead pretty quick with 6,000 life. Unless you have 440 million toughness,
Right.
which you can actually get with Boon of the Hoarder if you've got a gold wrap on, which is kind of
This
funny.
is
but-
true. So yeah, I mean it's got considerations. I would say it's really good for like early progression. Like if you're just getting into Torment 1, you're still relying on your spenders and things like that, or you're on your generators. Yeah.
How about twinks? I mean, twinks, you're obviously using your primary skills. You don't have all the resource regeneration to use the big stuff.
This is probably one of the best gems for twinks.
Yeah, this could actually be really good, I think. Not level 30 to 60 or something like that. It could be really handy.
Completely.
Or if you just don't want to think about using powerful skills, you just want to just use your left click and stuff.
I actually want this to work. Like I want to see them introduce more items, because I've always liked having a generator on the bar, even though it's usually less efficient once you're at like whatever gear level, way up there or whatever. But when they introduce things like restraint and focus, which are the ones where your spenders do more damage if you have full resource, that seems like it could do something cool with this gem too, because then you're using your primary more often because you don't want to spend your resources until like you are going to just unleash this massive amount of damage or something like that. I mean, I'm trying to make it work, but I can't think.
There is a barbarian passive that boosts your damage when you're full resource, right?
Yeah.
Unless they changed that out. That used to
I
be
think so.
there.
I've
It was a big damage boost.
played Barbin forever.
If only I had an internet here, I could look on that and check for sure.
But yeah, there were the...
But yeah, I like your idea of that. I mean, there should be ways to make it work with, like specialty builds. Like you have three certain items together, and it's like, oh, this is awesome. This makes a skill that I wouldn't otherwise use.
Hopefully we'll get there. Like I'm actually really excited for the next seasons and whatnot. I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but I'm sure they're going to introduce more gems too. So there could be some synergy coming up in the future.
Okay, 2 to go. 3 to go. Taeguk. Taeguki, which sounds like they did something to honor Koreans because they wanted to get... Taeguk looks like a Korean word to me anyway. Maybe it's not. Who knows? Base effect. 5% increased damage for 3 seconds after spending a primary resource. You can stack up to 20 times. Upgrade grants in additional stack, which sounds fun. I like things to stack a lot. 25 gives you 0.5% armor for every stack. So basically you get like level 25 on this. You've got 45 stacks, which is giving you 22.5% damage and lots of armor. And you can just... This sounds like the tank hit the crap out of one single target a whole bunch of times in a row.
Yep. This is really good. I love this gem. I think it's one of the more underrated ones right now. I don't think a lot of people are coming around to it yet, especially just because like the DH is such a on the rise, awesome OP class right now. So I don't think they have a use for this. But I think within the Crusaders, especially, you might see this a little bit more, especially in hardcore, because it gives you, if you look at it with the rank 25, it gives you both offense and defense at the same time. And anytime you can get utility like that, it's going to be like unbelievable. The 3 seconds. Sorry, I was just going to say the 3.
Like my monk sucks against single target. I could really see him using this with like his second gem.
And I think this is one of the gems that's in that like top tier build that they're using right now. The 3 seconds is tough to keep it up. Again,
yeah, my first wife would say.
God damn it.
So it never gets old, does it? Okay, so go ahead, Ynzerg. What do you think about this? As an upcoming powerful demon hunter who doesn't like this, what do you think?
I'm not sure. Like for demon hunter specifically.
Katniss says demon hunters don't like it.
It wouldn't be because our resource spending is the worst in the game easily. You shoot like 3 things and then I'm done. So for class,
this is my first live one. But
it shouldn't work anymore. It shouldn't work. Stop.
Yeah,
Stop encouraging him. Stop encouraging him.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. That's what I was thinking with this. You need a class that does a lot of little spenders.
Yeah.
Demon hunters don't really have that unless you're like just tapping out a rapid fire once in a while or something. But So who's the best for this? Like a wizard doing, electrocute once in a while, or you need lots of regular spenders, not just a few big bombs and you're all empty.
Yeah,
I mean,
Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it's gonna work well in a class that has cheap spenders that are useful. So I could see this maybe in like the roll-in set for Crusaders, because if you're using sweep attack, it's only 20 wrath per hit, and if you're you couldn't combine it. So yeah, you would have to. I think pretty much any class that prioritizes resource cost reduction is going to allow them to use their spenders more often, and therefore keep this up. Because again, the 3 seconds is really tough. You basically have to like spam your generator and then make sure you hit your spender at least once in the 3 seconds. And it's kind of crazy to keep it up. I guess it's.
Would it stack with a stream like rapid fire or ray of frost or something? Would you just go up 20 stacks really quickly with the same thing, or do you have to use each individual click?
That's a really good question.
Yeah,
I guess it would work.
I do not know.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, I mean, even back to Demon Hunter, the only scenario, when you're using the lesser hatred spenders, I mean, you could probably get those stacks up and hold it for reasonably long, but it still wouldn't be as damaging as other things you can do.
Yeah, I just wonder if you could, a draining one. What the hell are they called? But there's a term we use that I'm blanking.
Channeling, yeah.
Channeling.
Yeah, channeling, I guess is what it. But yeah, so something that would that keep stacking every half second adds a stack? That could be really powerful, but we don't know if that would work.
My guess is that it would work the same way that they apply life on hit for channeling. So it kind of like checks in every couple of ticks or seconds or whatever based on your attack speed.
So that could be a way it would work then. I'm just thinking, most classes these days are around, big spenders, all 4 or 5 of those in a row kind of thing, as opposed to 5 spending every second, every half second, forever.
And come to think of it,
that would be an awesome gym in Diablo 2, by the way. if they had this legendary gym in Diablo 2, because everybody had like lots of little spenders there.
That's true. Come to think of it, I think you're actually kind of onto something here, because with the secondary giving you armor, this would actually want you to stand in place, because as you stand in place and you keep spending, you're gaining toughness and you're also gaining more damage. So if you combine this with like a demon hunter that's using brooding or something, you could just stand there forever. And as long as you're still putting out the spending damage, then it could actually work.
And you get 3 seconds, so you could alternate it occasionally. But yeah, it's that one seems like it needs a little more work to find something that it's really good for. But I can totally envision like a month, someone's got some build like this is this important part of it. It's like that will enable things we're not thinking of currently. Someone will find some weird combination of stuff.
No doubt.
That's always fun to find. Okay, Wreath of Lightning, the Tesla coil turns you into a Tesla coil device, or a portable conduit shrine, whichever you prefer. It gives you a 15% chance on hit to gain a Wreath of Lightning, which is basically a little conduit shrine. It says nearby enemies, so as we know from Katniss, that can be the entire screen as far as anyone knows. Have you actually used this, Katniss? You know what the range is?
It's so funny, right? This one is actually a bit of a smaller range. I would say if 15 yards is like melee range, I would say this is probably 30 yards, so a little beyond that.
Which is still more than I think of nearby when I hear that word, but anyway. 10% weapon damage per upgrade, 10%, yeah, and the level 25 burst is increased movement speed. So you just basically become this portable, really fast-moving thing that zaps everything in sight. And like I said earlier, this is like the only one I can think of. This is like, I want to use this on a twink. I want to just race through the cathedral at level 14 or level 18 or whatever, just nuking everything. Zap, zap, zap. I'm guessing it doesn't proc itself.
No, you have to hit something.
Yeah, imagine if it procced itself, it would just never stop working, right? So that would be kind of crazy.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So what do you think, Ynzerg? Does this make you happy?
Yeah, it makes me.
Does anyone not love conduit shrines? By the way,
they're the greatest. Yeah. No, I think it's great. It's useful. Again, not as useful for me specifically, and all I think about is myself. Because I'm just kidding. But I'm trying to stay away from characters. But for melee classes, I can see this being really useful. But I think for reasons that Katniss outlined earlier, other gems again are maybe better.
But this one's so pretty, though.
Yeah, it is pretty. Yeah,
sparkles.
It's quite cool. And damage output's pretty good compared to but you're going to get more damage from other gems. And if what Katniss is saying is true, where the range isn't infinite like his other gem, then use the other one.
Yeah, I'd say this one probably has its best use when you get to that point that you're speed farming again, just because you do gain the movement speed from the rank 25 unlock, and that also goes over the movement speed cap. So if you're using this plus the gold find one, or the Boon of the Hoarder, then you can get up to 55% extra movement speed on your 25. So you're moving at 80% movement speed. It's actually really quick.
And everything on the screen is exploding gold
Mm-hmm.
constantly. Imagine if this one charged on picking up a stack of gold, it would just never stop. It'd be like, hey, the game's over. You'd be like Diablo 3 version of Whirlwind Barbarian.
Seriously.
Again. Spin to win, dude. And as we said, awesome for twinks. So that's if I want to get one of those leveled up a little. I'm going to do a Demon Hunter at some point. I was playing a monk initially just to sort of get some dex gear because I usually main Demon Hunters of late, and I'm just thinking I want to get this on my Demon Hunter as soon as possible to see what it's like. This and a Boon of the Hoarder, so I can be super fast and just zap the world. Even though it's better for a melee character, but I don't care. I want it anyway because zap. Okay, speaking of zap, last one: Z's, Z's, Zo's Stone of Vengeance. Base effect, damage you deal is increased by 4% for every 10 yards between you and the enemy hit. Maximum of a 20% increase at 50 yards. So basically, every 10 yards away, up to 5 multiples of that gives you increased damage. And the upgrade rank is 0.05% damage and 0.25 distance in yards, which makes no sense hearing it spoken, I'm sure. I told you to follow along on this on a web page. And rank 25 gives you 20% chance on hit to stun the enemy for 1 second. So this is a complicated thing, and the further away from the stuff you are, the better it does. This seems like it just cries out for Demon Hunter Sentries,
Totally, yeah.
which I think is awesome because that's such a weak build right now. They really need something to buff
Yeah.
it. Thank God, finally something for Demon Hunters and Sentries that makes them more powerful.
Yeah, or Blizzard. You could just drop a Blizzard and run away from the screen. You know, it's pretty nice.
And everything there is he just gets cooked and stunned, and so they stand still and get hit by
Yeah,
more.
it's pretty awesome actually.
I wanted to check on this because I've been hearing rumors that it would be the distance from the sentry to the enemy.
Oh, that would make a little more sense.
So it would make.
You still be getting free stuns though, which is kind
This
of
is true.
crazy.
This is true.
Of course, you get those anyway with your Cull of the Week.
Yeah. No. This is obviously really good for any of your range classes. So like a Demon Hunter, of course. If you just put your sentries right next to you and stand far away, and then the stuff gets stunned, so it doesn't really close that distance to you, then you're going to get a nice benefit of damage from this for sure. This is also really good for the new Phalanx Crusader build too, because that rune Stampede actually pushes enemies back and also stuns them too. So you're just getting additional stun.
This is another one that would have been fantastic for Demon Hunters back in D3V because you had to stay so far away from stuff. You would often you'd just be constantly kiting and vaulting back to the edge of the screen or using evasive shot or whatever. And like the further away, the more damage you do would have been awesome. Now that you can kind of tank with stuff, this one seems a little more difficult to find a use for unless you're a Demon Hunter or a Wizard or something with long range. Can you see anybody who would ever use this on like a Monk or a Barbarian?
No.
I mean, there's no build that worked with that.
No, yeah, because I mean, like Leap Quake, Furious Charge, all those, you're right there. Crusaders are pretty much in there too. Monks are right up front. Yeah, it's not a melee gem at all.
So if I cast something like, say, a Blizzard, and then move far away, am I going to see the benefit still, or do I have to be far away while casting?
I think it would work like Steady Aim works. So that passive gives you a percent, or I think 20% damage as long as you're like a certain yards away from the enemy. And if you actually open your character screen sheet with it and you move within the range that is under the minimum that you need to be away, you'll see the damage actually go down. So
yeah, right. But would that one spell be affected by like that particular cast, or would it still be? Do you understand what I mean?
Snapshotting, yeah.
Yeah. Would it be? So I'm wondering if that would actually. I'm wondering if it's less useful than I think it is right now. Because, like, for instance, if I was a wizard, I would just drop a blizz and then just run away, unless I need to be really far away first. I don't know.
Right.
Then it would be harder to get the perfect land.
I'd certainly hope that it changes every tick or whatever. They recalculate because obviously the monsters are moving around and you're moving around as well. So
Yeah,
it would seem pretty dumb if it only mattered when you first did it, or if you did it and hadn't ran away, or vice versa. I mean, if you cast at the edge of the screen and then you zipped up there and froze them personally, you shouldn't be getting 50%. You shouldn't be getting the 50-yard bonus if you're standing 2 feet away from them after just because your AOE, your spell takes 5 seconds to cast.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on the overall of these things? I have 2, so you guys can do yours first. What is your overall opinion of legendary gems? You like how they're working? Do you think there's any obvious problems or things that can be made better?
Well, legendary gems broke the game, right? Like the actual difficulty of the game now is completely rested in greater rifts, I would say. And I think the reason that these gems are introduced is that A, they give us like really cool things, cool powers, some stuff that you wouldn't be able to get with unless you had really specific items, or unless you were a certain class, really, like just some of the way that things interact. So I think it's really good for that, for not only opening up and adding to some builds, but also just making your character feel way more powerful, and also giving a reason for sockets to matter in jewelry. But it kind of trivializes like the T1 through T6 progression, because once these gems are leveled up enough, they give you such a big benefit over like anything you could get as an affix, like 100% crit hit damage. That's going to be completely outshined by like a Mirinae that's ranked up to like 3,000% weapon damage. So it really seems like these are shifting us more towards that progression of being able to go into higher, greater rifts, which is interesting because I don't think everyone is really looking forward to those per se. Like they're there for competition, and not everyone is like playing Diablo to compete. So at some point, your farming will just get really trivial because you'll be able to take the content so quickly, and it's not gonna get any harder past T6. But you might not want to go into greater rifts either. So I don't know.
Do you think Ynzerg? You happy
Yeah,
with
I mean,
those
I think they're
they
cool.
stand?
I think more relevant is that this is kind of the first pass, basically. I think they're going to have to, and like Katniss said, the game is now, I mean, for all intents and purposes, is going to be balanced around greater rifts unless they make some big changes, right? So I mean, I think the gems are cool, and I think with the gems, one of the positive side effects of them being so powerful is that it allows people who were not able to in the last patch of the game experience the higher level content. It allows them to get there and kind of get that bug and start farming more efficiently, getting better gear. So it kind of opens that up to people who never were able to do that. I think more easily, at least. It's not guaranteed, because they're so powerful. I had a friend who was playing and just kind of wasn't using them for some reason initially, and then he started putting them in, and immediately started doing higher level content. So I think that's a really cool positive. But I also think it's good to keep in mind that this is phase one. I think that there'll be some significant changes in 4 years when the next patch comes out or whatever. So
Maybe a little less than 4 years.
no, me too. Those are just
This is not Diablo 2. We get patches more
they're
than every
just so
4 years.
slow when they change stuff. But yeah. So I think they're cool. That's kind of my thoughts right now. I don't have any like strong negative feelings toward them yet.
My 2 points were I was surprised how few of them seemed like they were really suitable for twinking. Obviously, that wasn't anyone's point in making them, so that's sort of an incidental. But just looking over the list, I'm like, huh. Finally you get to Wreath of Lightning. It's like finally this is the only one that I really want on a level 20 character. And the other thing was, it seems like there's way more that are really awesome for ranged or massive AoE stuff than there are for any sort of melee stuff. We were kind of talking about that as we went, and like almost nothing. Like Taeguk is like the only one you think, okay, this would really help a melee character with the armor and the damage boosting up and stacking. But there's multiple ones that are like, if you can hit everything on the screen at once with this is like the greatest thing in the game. There's like 5 gems that are basically that description, right? So maybe you need a 15th and a 16th gem, or they can just repurpose one of the ones that no one uses, like the defensive ones, where they do something that's a little more effective only within 5 yards, or one of these kind of passive powers that the barbarian has that make like something like a brawler or whatever. Increases damage stacks for every enemy within 20 yards of you, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's interesting. But I mean, to your point though about the everything, it benefits AOE kind of things. I mean, there's not really any classes that aren't just spamming some sort of AOE, right? Like, so they're still going to get a pretty big benefit from some of those as well. But again,
yeah, true. But I mean, like the last one, Zay's Stone of Vengeance. I mean, as we were, that's of zero use to the melee character, or very little. And there's none of them that you look at, oh, this would be horrible for my ranged. This is only good if you hit one single target for big damage. Of course, nobody does that, so I guess why would you make a gem for a build that doesn't exist, right? But if you made it, they would come.
Potentially.
I think some movie said that one time. Pulp Fiction or something had that line in it.
I think you have to also look at it too as things that work for AoE work for single target, just not as efficiently. So, for instance, if I'm down to the Rift Guardian or the yellow of the elite pack, my gem of Efficacious Toxin is still going to put a DOT on that one person, but it's just way better when there are a lot of enemies to put that thing on. But it's not like it's not like it loses all effectiveness once there's only one or two enemies.
Okay, any final thoughts, guys?
Uh,
We covered every legendary gem, and it took longer than I thought, but I'm sure we were thorough, and people will only put in comments the 20 things we forgot to mention.
of course.
And we learned that Katniss has delicious toes. Ynzerg's like, I didn't
Yeah,
like
I
that
don't
at
like
all. Yeah, well, that's my first wife said. Okay, you've been listening to the Diablo 3 podcast. We are online at Diablo8Gamers.com, and thanks to Ynzerg and Wolfpack and the other guy, Katniss, and Moo.
Ooh.
That's an
Gem of Efficacious
inquisitive
Milk.
cow.
Yeah,